Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. In today's session, we'll be going through another data type that is known as list. List is a data type and it is actually falling under category like sequence. Let me tell you like now what is sequence. Sequence is like whenever you are actually dealing with a string basically. It is like character 1, character 2, character 3. You can actually start the index with 0. I mean ideally the string starts with the index 0 till the length of the string minus 1 is the maximum index value. So now string is one of the data type which is falling under sequence. The second one is actually list, then the third one is actually tuple. So these are like no sequence. Most of the functionality whatever we have used in string, let's say for example length, we can actually find out the length of a list using len function. Let's say you want to actually check the type of list, or like let's for example I have like a list one followed by list items in bracket. You want to verify what is the type, you can actually use the type method. And let's say in string it starts with index 0 and you can actually iterate it, right, using any loop. Similarly we can actually iterate the list items too, and using index, and ideally using range and length, combination of range and length, that is also possible. So now the list, to tell you about like list, you should know like now what is an array. Array is like in other programming languages, array is like a collection of elements. Okay, let's say for example C, think about a numeric array, number array. It can contain only numbers. Let's say it's a string, array of strings, it can contain only strings, but it cannot actually contain both. Here in list, it can actually contain multiple values and multiple, that could be like multiple data types. Let's say for example, you want list of numbers, we can do that. You want list of names, we can do that. You want like the combination, basically like some of them are actually numbers, some of them are actually strings, some of them are actually floating point numbers, some of them are actually boolean. We can actually do that. And list can contain lists as well. And to understand more about like list, you should understand like list is an ordered data type. When I'm talking about like an ordered data type, that is like in order. Let's say for example, we do have a list with 5 elements. Then in that case, we should start with like a list one followed by the index one, index zero, then followed by index one, index two, index three, index four, and index five. List can store like multiple items in a single variable. In a single variable, we can have n number of items, and the elements are actually closed by square bracket and separated by comma. Comma is the item separator. We can change the values irrespective of like now the positions. Let's for example, I do have a list, list one. I do have a list one while ago I have just mentioned list items. You can actually define like this, and it should be enclosed in square brackets. Then the items here should be separated by comma. Let's say I'm having list of numbers 10, 20, and 30. And if you're using ID, just like to follow the standard, give a space after the comma. So now here in this case, if I want to see like how many elements are actually present in this particular list, I can simply execute like print len of length of list one. It is going to give me 3. If I want to print the entire list, I can definitely print like list one. I want to know what is the type of list one. I can definitely give type of. Let me do one thing. Let me write it down here itself, right? So Python new Python file. Here I can give list example. Python file is the first list program. Here we go. Like I'm just giving like type of list one. If you run this program, here you can see, if you run this program, here you can see it is saying like 3 elements. If I'm giving like 5 elements, I can get 5 here. And if you're printing the entire list, you can print like a list and it will be printed using the square bracket. Okay. So because we do not explicitly specify like print values in square brackets, it will be directly printing the list as is. Like here you can see 10, 20 and 30. It is printing 10, 20 and 30. And what is the type? It is actually class list because it's object oriented programming Python. So we do have a class like list class. Okay, in the list class, this data type is actually a class list. Okay, this particular data type is actually class list. So this is how you can actually identify, sorry, initialize a list and then access the elements, all the elements, and then access the type, and then you can actually check the length as well. Let's say, for example, I want to have a list of strings. Then what I can actually do here, let me write another program to make you familiar with like different types of list. Python file, list, different types. Okay, different types of list. And here what I can actually do, okay, just give me a second. Okay, so we are good now. So now list of different data types. So now here what I can do is I can define a list of numbers, for example, list with different elements basically. When I'm talking about data types, that is the data type of the elements. Now list of numbers, I'm just giving 1, 2, 1, then 2, then 3. Then we can give like 4. And then I have list 2, which can contain only alphabets or strings. Let's say I'm just giving like country names like India, US, and then I've just given UK, then France, France. So now this is another type of list. List 3, I have the list which is containing right now the various type of data types. Let's say the year 2022, followed by like the country name, India, then followed by, here we do have like the average income of the family. Let's say for example 10,500.23. This is floating, and whether we can actually make it as actually available for use. We can actually give, let's say, true and false, like it can be anything. Basically, in this example, what I have put together is like this one integer, one string, then one floating point number, then followed by boolean value. That boolean value, there are like two boolean values like true and false. Okay, so T should be capital. Now these are my lists. So if I want to actually print list 1, here you can see the first list. Then if I give like print list 2, here you can see second list. Then print list 3, you can see the third list. If you're running this program, here you can see the values. And list items can contain none too. None is a special data type. Okay, list 4, here I can specify, let's say Subbu, let's say year is 2022, and then I'm just giving like address is none. I have not given my address over there, like I've just specified none. None of the information is actually available. Now, if I do like print list for, here you can see the value none should be also printed. None is a special data type. None will be printed as none. Okay. So if you say like I want to actually have none like this in capital case, any, definitely we are going to run this program. Let us see like what's going to happen. Here you can see. Just look at this here. The name is none in capital case is not defined. Did you mean that none in small case? I mean, n in capital case and o n in small case. So always remember this none, n capital, true, P capital. Similarly, if you want to have false, then it is false is actually F capital. Okay. So if you are having like let's say for example, I have none, I have nothing. When you are having nothing, you are putting like double quotes, or you can specify like single quotes. This is also allowed. If you are printing the list, you can see the elements like this. Here we have put like double quotes, but here you can see the result is actually single quotes, because this is how the list will be printing, like to identify null items, null values. Okay, so whenever you are having null values and using double quotes or single quotes, this is the expected behavior if you are actually using print of that particular list. Let's say I have a empty list. How do I actually specify empty list? List is empty. Then I can specify list 5 equals to just square bracket. Okay. Now print. I can see here like list 5. Sometimes whenever we are actually going to initialize the empty list, we can actually use double square bracket like this. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see this is an empty list. So this is how you can actually define an empty list. So let me document it here, empty list. Okay, and this is a combination of the data type. This is again another combination of data type. So what are the things you learn from this program? List can contain any types of data, can contain similar types of data elements, or can contain like any data elements. For example, they can contain booleans, can contain string, can contain uh, numbers. Basically, when I'm talking about numbers, it could be decimal numbers, or it could be like floating point, or then a list can contain true and false. List can contain null values, either in two double quotes or two single quotes. List can contain a special data type none, and list like you can have a empty list. So these are the various edge cases when you are actually going to deal with the list definition. Let us do one thing. Let us write like now another program to understand like now we are familiar with the list definition. Now we are going to access elements. Okay, list access element. Now this is my list, or I can give a meaningful name like say contains CNs, continents. So now if I'm giving like now print CNS, print CNS, here you can see the result is this list as is, like it is printing India, US, UK and France. If you want to here. So whenever I want to access the element 0, I can actually give like 0 as like strings. The index starts with 0, and we can actually use the index which is length minus 1. For example, in this case, if I'm giving CNS of 0, it is actually the element 1, and index is 0. Similarly, if I want the element 2, that is like index 1, I can definitely give index 1. This is going to give me element 2. Similarly, if I want to know like a CNS of 2, 0, 1, 2, in this case, it is going to print, it is going to print uh, 0 is India, 1 is US, and then third one is actually UK. Now, if I'm running this program, here you can see India, US, and UK. Uh, Now, in list, we can actually identify how many countries are actually present here, or length you can actually identify. So the length or elements, length of list you can specify early enough, CNS. Okay, so now alien is the function or method using which we can actually identify length of a list as well. So in the previous session, I have mentioned about how to get the length of a particular string using alien function. Here you're dealing with list. The same function, it takes one variable name in this case, and it returns the length of that particular variable. In this case, the variable type is list, and it is actually going to return 4. Now here you can see the result is 4. Okay, and list support negative indexing uh, because in sequence, basically sequence support negative indexing. We can actually do negative indexing as well. We can use negative indexing. Now CNS of, if I do -1, it is actually going to print friends. If you give -3, this is -1, -2, -3, it is actually going to print going to return USA. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually going to return -3 as in USA. So this is the example of negative index. Okay, and the other one is actually length of the list. Okay, and we do have list slicing. Let us write another program to understand now how the slice operator is actually going to work. Slice operator works on any sequence like string, list, tuple, etc. So now slice operator, here I'm just giving slice operator. Now here, let's say I am having India, US, UK, France, and then here I'm having Australia, and then I'm having New Zealand, and then I'm having, let's say, Dubai, etc. Okay, so now here I can see print. If I do CNS, it is going to print everything as is. And if I want to use slice operator, let's say print, and the slice operator, it is actually same as like this. I can specify, let's say for example, starts with 0, and then colon is, let's say 2, for example. Now here you can see what is the output. Okay, so 0 colon 2, you can see 0 colon 2, it's not like a 2 elements, it is like 0, 1 till the 2 position. This is not included. Let's say if I'm giving 2, then 5, it is 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 5, it is 2, 3, and 4. So it is 2 is UK, France, and Australia. Okay, so this is how the slicing operator works. UK, France, and Australia. If I'm giving something like this, let's say the reverse of the list, I can specify -1. CNS colon colon -1. It is going to print Dubai, New Zealand, Australia, France, UK, US, and India. If I'm giving this, here you can see that this is in the reverse order. Okay, reversing of the list. Now, if I want to print something like this, let's say, for example, uh, starting the position 0 and till the end, and every alternate element. Let us see what it is going to give us. The last one is actually interesting one here. So here it is giving India, UK, Australia, and Dubai. India, UK, that is 0, 2, 4, then 6. Okay, 0, 2, 4, and 6. Uh, This is how we can actually use the slicing operator. Now the next operator that we can actually use on list is that is known as concatenation operator. Concatenation operator. I'm just going to give another example here. New Python file. Here list concat. Concat operator is actually concatenation operator is plus. Okay, I'm having list one, and in list one, let's say I'm having 10, 20, and 30. 10, 20, and 30. Now list two, in the list two, that is 40 and 50. Okay, so if I'm giving like print list one, here you can see list one. If I'm giving print list two, here you can see list two. The result of first list output will be 10, 20, and 30. Then the second list output will be 40 and 50. If I'm giving print list one plus list two, list one and list two, in this case you are going to get the output as list one is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It should not be like in two square brackets. It should be in one square bracket. You can see 10, 20, 30 and 40, 50. So this is a concatenation happening here. Okay. If I'm printing this, you can see 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. But if you are giving a comma operator here, that is a separator, here you can see the output differently. Here you can see 10, 20 and 30, then 40, 50, these are two lists. But in case of plus, it is a concatenation. Let's say, for example, if I'm giving list 3 equals to list 1 plus list 2, list 1 plus list 2, here if I'm giving print list 3, you can also see, you can see the result is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you can see it here. This is known as list concatenation. If I'm giving something like this, let's say for example, list 4 equals to list 1 plus 20. Let us see what is going to happen. Now, if I'm giving print list 4, you can see some interesting operations over here because concatenation, guys, remember the concatenation happens between two data types. One is string, it will concatenate. Let's say two numbers, it will just the meaning of plus is sum. Two floating point, the meaning is actually sum. Ideally, if it is integer plus, then what is a number plus, then what is going to happen? It is going to add the values. But if it is two strings, it is concatenation. Two lists, it is concatenation. This operation is not supported. Okay. Now let us see what is going to happen. This is not supported. As I mentioned, this is not supported. Type error. Can concatenate list, not int to a list. Okay. So this is the type error what you are still going to get. Here you go. So now we can so now here you can see, let me comment out this. Okay. So now here list 4, you can see list 4. If you want to experience error, then you can actually definitely uncomment it. If I'm running this program, here you can see this is known as concatenation operator, and this is how the concatenation works. There is something known as list replication operator or repetition operator. Okay, let's say for example, I'm having some value like this, and
Hello?
you may see, yes.
If you will write print integer of list 1 plus integer of list 2.
Print integer of list 1 and print integer of list 2. First tell me what is going to be printed. Can we actually convert it? casting basically, okay, convert a list one, okay. Now let us say what is going to happen here. In this case, like forget about like addition. In this case it is going to print like this, okay, but it is not ideally going to give a integer of this one. Let's say for example, if I do this integer of this and int of list2, it is again, in this case it is not concatenating, okay. Sorry, it is not doing a typecast of all the elements. Let me show you here, okay. Now here it is saying type error, int argument must be string, okay, and a byte like object or real number is not a list, okay. So now here you can see this list1 and list2, it is not going to work. So this kind of operations are actually not supported. If I'm giving, let's say for example, if I'm giving list item, here I'm just giving, let's say I'm just giving list5 equals to int of list1, okay. Now if I do print of type of list5, here you can see what is going to happen, right? So now look at here, list int5, int of list1, it is saying type error, int argument must be a string, a byte like object or a real number or a list, it is actually not supported. You cannot actually do this operation over here. But if you are actually giving like within the print, like it may work actually. You saw like no, it was actually working here. Let's say if I'm giving this, we are not getting any error. Let me comment out this. Okay, here we go, F10. Here it is. Here it is. Like somehow the previous program it was like maybe I have mentioned something and it was actually just working, but it is not supposed to be like doing a casting itself. Okay, so the casting is actually not allowed. We cannot actually do a casting. Let's say for example, in this case, if I'm having a value something like this, let's say my value equals to 100, and in this sequence we can actually do a casting. Let's say here I go, if I give int of well, it is actually going to work. There is something known as list comprehension, and in that case we can actually typecast each element which is supported. But this kind of operation is actually not supported. We cannot actually plus set, okay. So any sequence, let's say for example, string versus string, let's say here we go, str1 equals to hello, and then str2 equals to hi. If I give str3 equals to str1 plus str2, this is concatenation. So string 3 will be hello hi because it's part of sequence. Similarly, if I'm giving list1 equals to 10, list2 equals to 20, you may get this puzzle questions somewhere like knowing your testing your skills in LinkedIn or various sites are there like where you can test your skills. They'll say like print L1 plus L2, what will be the result? Is it going to be 30? The answer is no. Is it going to be 10 in square bracket, 20 in square bracket? The answer is no. Is it like 10, 20 without comma? Answer is no. What will be the correct answer? It is going to print. Correct answer is 10, 20. So this is supported, but we cannot actually do a sum without using like the iterations basically to iterate the elements and then add the first value of the list with the second value of the list and all these operations. That is supported. I mean, we can actually traverse and then do that, but as of now, concatenation we cannot actually add. Okay. So thanks for asking. So now here we go. So this is how it is actually going to work. I'm just taking it out. So now the next example I'm just going to give is repetition operator, list repetition of the application. Let's say I'm having a list one, and just giving 10 20 and 30. And print, this is interesting one, okay? So now L1 into 2. It is not going to give 20, 40 and 60. It is going to give me 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, two times. That is known as replication. So it is not going to give me 20, 40 and 60. So this is replication. Let's say we are using numbers in the previous examples. Let me use characters, okay? Let's say A, then I'm just giving here like XX, and then here I'm just giving Y. Okay, if I'm giving, let's say in this case, I'm just using list 2. Here I'm just giving print 2 or 3 into L2. Here you see the result will be the first one, the result will be 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30. Here it will be like A, XXYY, then A, XXYY, then A, XXYY. So this is actually known as replication. But if I'm having like, L2 equals to, let's say for example, I'm just giving here 1, 1, 1. Okay, and if I'm giving, it's not L2, I'm just giving L3 here. So now, if you are trying something like this, print sequence with sequence is not possible. The application sequence with sequence is not possible. L1 is a sequence, that is list, L1 is a list. L3 is also a list. It should not actually return 10, 20, 30. It is definitely going to return error. What is that error message? Let us see, like replication is not supported. Type error, okay? So now here we can actually get type error. Now here cannot multiply sequence by non-int of type, okay, non-int type with list, because whenever we are having a list, the second one should be an integer. For example, here you can see the first one list, second one is an integer. The first one is an integer, definitely the second one is a list. Okay. Now what is going to happen if I'm giving, like, this is a quite interesting experiment we are going to do. Let's say you can say 0 is an integer. What is going to happen here? If I'm giving like 0 followed by L2, what is going to happen here? Let us see what is going to happen here. Now, if you're running this program, here you can see the list is nullified. So this is an empty list, okay? So sometimes wherever you are actually testing your skill during your interview process or like wherever it is, if it is like 0 followed by L2, don't be confused. Don't specify 000. You have to specify if it is 0, okay, 000, sorry, 0 into the list, then it is actually empty list. The result is actually empty list. The result will be empty list, okay. So these are the edge cases or use cases of like list replication. So far we are familiar with how to define a list, like empty list, and then list containing similar elements, list containing like the combination of element or heterogeneous list I can say, and that list containing similar elements is known as homogeneous list, okay. And then we can also define list inside list, that is known as nested lists. So how do you define the nested list? Here we go. Now new Python file. Here we can give like nested list, or I can see here list nested example. Okay. Now let's say I'm having employee details. Now employee details, what I have is the first employee is Subbu, then I do have here India, and then I've just given like joining that is 2012, for example. Now here I have Satya, and then let's say I'm just given US, and then just given here like Satya joined in 2001, and then here I'm just giving your guess. Your guess is a string, has to be quoted either in double quotes or single quotes. So your guess, I have let's say country is not known or your guest did not specify, I can specify non-data type. Again, the date of joining I've just given, 2019, for example, something like this. So this is a nested element. If I give print EMP, it is actually going to print all the elements as is, all the elements as is. Now here you go, and whenever you want to, I to print the element of 0, EMP of 0. Here you see, you can see the element 0. Now print the last element, that is EMP of -1. Here you can see the details over here. If I'm running this program, here you can see that is EMP. EMP is giving all values. Then EMP of 0, it is giving me Subbu, India, and 2012. Then it is actually giving us your guess, none, and 2019. If you want, let's say for example, we do have a nested list and we want to reverse the nested list, what we can do? Colon colon -1. Now in this case, what it is going to print? It is going to print your guest's details followed by Satya's details and then followed by my details, that is Subbu's record, that is element 0. Now if I'm printing this, it is your guest, Satya and Subbu. In this order, you can actually get it. So this is known as a nested list. Nested list can contain it is not like list with only list. It can contain anything. Let's say we all are from India, I can specify default location is India, and here I'm just giving the year is 2023, the next year. And in this case, if I'm running this program, it is also going to print all the data. Here you can see it can contain list, it can contain tuples, it can contain dictionaries. List can contain anything literally. Okay, so this is how the nested list looks like. Okay, so this is all about the list definition and list operations. Remember guys, in any sequence, so far we are familiar with string and list. Three operations definitely possible. And what are those? One is the slicing operation, concatenation operation, and membership operation. Sorry, concatenation operation, and then replication operation. Then the fourth one we can actually try, that is known as membership. Membership operator is also possible, or operation is actually possible on a list. Let's say I'm having a list with membership within file, and let's say I'm having country name CNS equals to, okay, I don't have the country name. Let me copy paste it from here in this. Okay, CNS equals to this one. I want to type it again. So now here we go. So now if I'm printing print, let's say India in CNS, that is going to print true. And then print, here I want to print if USA in CNS, it is also going to print true. Let's say print US in CNS. This is the interesting one. USA part of the US, but US we do not have any element which is exactly US. In this case, it is going to return as false. Just understand the core concepts. If you understand the core concepts, then you can actually write any complex requirement, okay, independently. Let's say France in CNS. It is also going to return as true. This membership. Let's say print France in small case, or France in combination of cases. France not in CNS, it is actually going to give true. And if I give France in CNS, this is definitely going to return as false. Try to understand India, it is exact case India. If it is an element, it is actually going to return true. Now in this case, US is exact element, it is returning true. US, there is no element US in exact US, it is USA but not US. In this case, it is returning false. Now France in this case, it is actually going to return as true. Then France in this case, it is also going to return as true because this France is actually not present. And France here in CNS, it is also going to return as false because this is not present. In this example, what we need to understand is list elements are actual case sensitive. Membership, it is always like, going to match the exact case. And if your requirement is like, to convert it to uppercase, lowercase and all, so those things, once I cover like, the methods, you can actually understand like, how it is working, how it is going to work. So in here, I've just explained like, true, true, false, true, true, false. Here you can see true, true, false and true, true, false. Okay. So this is the simple example to understand like, how the membership operation works in case of a list. Okay, so that's all about the membership operations on a list. What is next? How do I traverse a list? Let me tell you like a list traversal. Traverse a list, or I can actually give anything. Here it is list traverse example. In the list traverse example, what we can do here is, let's say this is my country names basically, and I want to actually traverse the list. Okay, so the traversal of list, like strings, we can traverse using the index, that is the positive index, traverse using negative index, that is also possible, traverse using a for loop, that is also possible, traverse using while loop, that is also possible, and traverse using partial traversal using slice operator, that is also possible, and traverse using range and length is also possible. Let us go step by step. Let us directly traverse the list element first. Okay, now for, let's say, CN in CNS, without anything, directly the list, just give print welcome to CN. Here you can see, like, it is printing all the elements. It is actually traversing India, US, UK, France, Australia, New Zealand and Dubai. Here you can see it is printing like, all the elements. So this is a traversal using the list directly. Now if you want to actually traverse using, let's say for example this one, and let me do one thing, let me write a separate program. Now here, new Python file, list traverse to. Okay, now here we go. There is a Python file. So now I don't actually use the list. I want to use like an index direct list. I don't actually iterate. I want to iterate using index. What I can do here is I can specify for, let's say, I means index in a range of length of the list, that is CNS. Okay, this is the second one, and then here I can say print hello, and then here I can give like, I not I, it is CNS of I, CNS of I. Okay, you may experience like, some programs which are already written. Let's say in your project, you can see they are using index. Then this is how they must have actually used index. Okay, so now here you can see it is actually saying like, hello India, hello US, hello UK, hello France, hello Australia, and all. So this is how you can actually use the index. Let's say you do have a list, and what you want is, let's say, why I'm having a print statement here. I want to print asterisk mark 50 times. Asterisk mark 50 times. So it is going to print a asterisk mark 50 times asterisk mark. Now, in the second program, I want to traverse from element number 2 till element numbers 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here, what I can actually do, I can specify I want the element number 2 till 5. 2 till 5 means I need to specify like 6. Then it is range is going to generate 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we can actually get the element 2, 3, 4, 5. It's UK, France, Australia, New Zealand, and here I'm just giving like high. So you can actually see it here. So this is like partial traversal using the range. Let's say you are having a list of like 1,000 elements, but you want the values from element number 200 till element number 500. Real time example I'm just giving. Let's say you are iterating the file content, and in each line the separator is a comma, and then you are iterating all the values, and you need a range, and let's say that CSV file contains 1,000 fields in each row, and your requirement is from position number 200 or field number 200 till field number 269. You want that data in another file. Okay, so what you can do, you can actually use a range of like no particular fields. This is like you can correlate if you're actually coming from a Unix or Linux background. You must be familiar with the command cut, that is cut of any specific characters or like fields and all these things. Okay, so if that is a requirement, definitely we can do a range operation. Okay, and then you can actually use the range function followed by some other manipulations you need to do to get the things done. So that's all about like how do we use range. Let's say for example I want to use a negative range. Negative range is like range is starting with -1 and range is like ending with minus of length of CNS. Okay, -1, and then I'm just giving -1 as in step. Now in this case, I'm just giving welcome to the country name, for example. Now here in this case, you can see I have used the first one. We have used like for I in range, so it is actually going to iterate India till Dubai, and it is going to print hello then country name. Now here you can see I in range of 2,6. Here you can see it is going to print high followed by whatever item is there in the list. Then the third one we have given here we have given in the second one given like in range of 2 to 6. Then here we have given in the negative indexing, so -1, minus length, and -1. In this case, it is actually printing welcome to, then what are the values are actually there. Now, if I'm giving this, here you can see it is actually printing welcome to Dubai, welcome to New Zealand, and then India. Instead of doing this, right, instead of doing this complex operation, understanding range, length, why extra -1 here, instead of doing all these things, what you can simply do is you can definitely use like slicing. So let's say for example, I want to do a slicing operation here for I and range of CNS. Directly I can give ::(-1), ::(-1), and it does the same thing. Let's say for example, I'm just giving like goodbye, then I can specify this. Okay, so now it should be like the element, directly the element, so I can actually directly give I over here. Now if I'm running this program, here you can see it is actually printing goodbye Dubai, goodbye New Zealand, then till goodbye India. Let's say for example the second one, whatever we have actually used here, right, 2 to 6, right, here we can see like 2 to 6. If you want to do the same operation using slicing, that is also quite possible here. That is also quite possible here. Let's say I'm just using slicing, and I want to actually read from CNS, then start with 2, then end with 6, then nothing. Like no step is by default 1. I can actually give like CN or I or anything is fine here, and then I can print here like CN. That's it. So this is actually partial traversal. Okay. So now let us look at the last one. So what it is going to give? It is hi UK, hi France, hi Australia, hi New Zealand. So these are various kinds of traversal you can actually do. And so far I have actually told you few things you should actually understand here. One is traversing using index. Okay. Uh, Here we are actually using the index, and index, how the index is getting generated using range. And then the second one is partial traversal, and here we are actually specifying values like the specific values 2 and 6. Then the third one is negative index. Here we are actually using range -1 and then followed by -1 to length -1, right? Minus of length -1. That is, if list is containing 5 elements, it should be -1 to -5 elements. But if you give inside then -5, it is going to print -1, -2, -3, and -4. So if your list is containing 5 elements, it should actually end with -6 in the negative index case. Now then the fourth one we have actually used here is the reverse order of the list using the slice operation. And the partial elements from a list, definitely we can actually use slicing and then traverse it. So this is how you can actually traverse using for loop. Now if you want to traverse using a while loop, we can also do that. Let me write one more program and tell you list traversal using while. Okay, so now here we go, and let me take this country names over there, and we'll just stick to the same country name, and then I'll just give the example over here. Let's say here we go. Let's say while I'm just giving CNS, while CNS and print list.pub list.pub. Okay. Now here little tricky. Don't worry about it. Like now how the pub operation is working. I'm just going to explain it again in the list methods in the upcoming sessions. So now for now, the quick note is when we are actually giving list.pub, when we are giving list.pub, it is actually going to pub the last element. Let's say, for example, in the first iteration, it will be Dubai. Second iteration, it will be New Zealand. Third iteration, it is Australia. Till it is actually going to print India. If you want to print like a message, hello, and then followed by this, let us see like now how it is working. I've seen many programs. Pop needs an argument. Okay, pop list not list.pop. It is cns.pop. cns.pub. Okay, cns.pub. So now if I'm executing this program, here you can see hello Dubai, hello New Zealand, hello Australia, hello India in the reverse order. I've seen many programs where this pop operation is being used to process in the LIFO order, last in first out. That is the last element first and then the first element at the last. Okay, so now this is how the LIFO order it is actually going to do. Now after popping out, let us see what is left in the CNS. Now print CNS. Okay, now if I'm giving your print CNS, print country names, let us see. And you should be careful, while using this, okay, while using this, you should be careful. First, see, I have given print CNS. It is actually giving India, US, UK, France, Australia, New Zealand, and Dubai. Now, here you can see it is iterating its values. Now, once the pop operation is done, it is actually the list is becoming empty. Be careful about this one. If your requirement is to pop out is operation, pop and push, those are stack operations. Push, we do not have actually anything push. We need to actually use a append operation, basically appending it to a list. And then popping means we should pop out from a list. Okay, the element will be removed from the list. We'll actually get familiar with the pop operations in the upcoming sessions, so don't worry about it. List will be empty. List will be empty because all elements are actually popped out. Now let me explain. While CNS, while there are like now elements in the list, in that case iterate. So while certain condition, okay, but in case of for, it is not going to change the list. The list will be as is. But in case of while, definitely it is going to pop out. Okay. So now to understand it here in this case, I can actually give like now for Cn in, let's say CNS. Okay, if I'm giving this, let's say print hi, then Cn, country name. Now here I'm just giving like after the for loop, I'm just giving like now print after for loop. After the for loop, I'm just giving what is there in the CNS. It will be like all the values will be as is because for loop doesn't pop anything. In the while loop, as we are actually using pop, that is the reason it is popping the items. Okay, so now if I'm running this program, here you can see it here. Okay, the result after for loop the list is as is, but after the while loop the pop is done, then the list is becoming empty. Okay, so be careful about this one. Let's say I want to tell you, you may have a question like if pop is actually going to do in the LIFO, is there anything like in the FIFO order? We can actually use the same pop function or pop method to do the operation in the FIFO order. FIFO is actually first in first out. Okay, so list traverse like while one. Here we go. This is my program. So I'm just going to do some operations here. I'm just going to take out this. Okay. And here I'm just going to put 0. I'm just telling, I'm just telling the system or Python that, do one thing, pop the first element always, that is 0. Pop item number 0, that is India. Once it is popped out, the next 0 will be like now USA, then UK is also going to be USA because these elements will be popped out. It will be removed from the list. As soon as it is removed from the list, you can actually see this. Let's say, for example, run this program, you can see it is going to print hello India, hello US, hello Dubai, then the list is going to be empty. Here we go. If you want to see how the list look like, okay, let's after the pop, how the list is actually looking like. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me close all these programs and take you to the sessions for a better understanding. I do have a temporary file session. Where is that? Let me figure it out. Looks like I've just closed it out. Session.py. Okay, so here you go. So now let's say this is my program. Here what I'm doing is I'm just going to do a pop and I'm just printing hello this one, and I'm just checking what is there in my list. Print remaining items in the list. Remaining items in the list. Here I can say like CNS. Okay, now here print CNS, it is going to print everything. Print CNS 0, it will be popping like India. The remaining items will be like US, UK, France until Dubai. Then the second iteration, it is going to uh, print like US. The remaining items will be UK till Dubai. Third iteration, it is actually going to print UK, followed by France, Australia, New Zealand, and all these things. Let us see how the output looks like. Okay, now look at here. Now here we go. If you understand this program, then you are actually done with the traversal. Now here we go. It is printing hello India. India is popped out from the list. So now remaining items are US to USA to Dubai. It is there. Then the next one is USA. The remaining items are UK till Dubai. Look at the brackets. So this is like system is printing. This is your modified list. Then UK, it is actually having France, Dubai, and all. Then remaining items, it is like Australia, New Zealand, and Dubai. And then like this, you can actually check it out. Okay. Now, if your requirement is you want to print the list like in this order. Okay. Let's say I'm just taking this out. and your requirement is it should print India, US, UK, France, Australia, Dubai, then it should print US, UK and all these things, okay, in a triangular form, okay, in reverse triangle form. Then what you can do is you can directly do a cns.pub, cns.pub pub0 and then print this. Now if I'm running this, it is actually going to print, okay, we really don't need that string over there. We want to print in the reverse order, okay, of a triangular order. So first it will be printing India till Dubai, second line it will be printing US till Dubai, third line it is going to print UK till Dubai, fourth line it is like France till Dubai, like that. So now if I'm running this program, here you can see the result like this format, okay. So how the pop operation is actually working. So this is how the pop operation is actually working. First the complete list before the traversal, then second after the pop, then at last the list will be actually empty and the condition is also going to fail. When the list is actually empty, the condition like in while loop, it is going to break basically because the condition check has been failed. So this is all about the traversal using while loop, traversal using for loop, reverse traversal, traversal using index, traversal using length, traversal using like just the list name without using like range and length. So these are the various methods that we are like going to use in the real time scenarios. So with that we are done with like list definition and list traversal. In the upcoming session, I'm just going to tell you about list methods, how to use the methods as like string. We do have 40 to 50 methods. Similarly, we do have around 30 to 40 methods that we should know, like to deal with the lists. So let's say, for example, if you look at here, right, CNS dot if I give, there's a pub, there's index, count, clear, copy, append, extend, short, reverse, remove, insert. Here you can see there are like n number of methods. There are like multiple methods available here, right? Maybe around 20 or like sorry, there are like 10 or 15 methods are actually they're not 30, 40 methods. There are 10 or 30, like 15, 20 methods that we should know. And apart from that, I'm just going to tell you line, sorted, reversed, and all, and clear, and all these things. Okay, so we'll just learn about the functions or methods in the upcoming session. Thank you, everyone.